A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, the novelization by Joseph Locke. Chapter 3. It was the time of day Alice hated the most. Time for Dad to come home. She was standing at the sink washing dishes when she heard his car drive up. It ran over the garbage cans with a clatter. He was drunk again. Rick was in the garage practicing for his martial arts class, and she heard his abrupt movements cease when Dad's car door slammed. "First one of the day, Scout's honor," Dad said apologetically as he came in through the kitchen door. He swayed slightly as he walked. "I'm late, I know. Damned contracts." "We waited a long time," Alice said quietly. Rick shuffled in and added, "But we gave up, as usual." Taking a salad bowl out of the refrigerator, Alice followed her dad into the dining room and began serving dinner. He looked at the salad before him and snapped, "You call this vegetation a meal after a 10-hour work day? What the hell am I, a rabbit? Christ, Alice! Can't you try to think just a little more?" Heading back into the kitchen, Alice stopped with her back to her dad, and she faced him angrily, rushed forward and slapped a hand on the table, speaking through clenched teeth. "Yeah, I can think. I can think of how tired I am of watching you drink your life away. I can think of how sick I am of you taking Mama's death out on me." He gaped at her in shock, mouth hanging open, and Dad said, "Am I speaking in tongues, Alice? I'm talking to you. Are you awake or what?" "Dad, don't start," Rick said quietly. "Start what? Telling the little daydreamer to wake up? It's long overdue." He got up and went for his coat. "Hell with this. Aggravation I don't need." Alice stood at the kitchen sink as long as she could. She listened to him storm out, listened to him drive away. Then the tears came, and she hurried to her room. Kincade had tried for hours to do his homework, but he couldn't concentrate. He'd finally undressed, put on his sweatpants and t-shirts, and laid down on the bed. Sleep came as easily as concentration, so he grabbed up a handful of darts and tossed them from the bed to the board on the wall across the room, trying hard not to think about Kristen, about her dreams, and, most of all, about him, about Freddie. But it wasn't easy. As the darts thunked against the board, Kincade's bedroom door creaked open slowly, and he froze. Kincade sat up on the bed startled, and he saw a shadow on the bedroom floor. It looked like the shadow of a tilted, pointy hat on a long head, but it was only Jason. Kincade sighed and slapped the mattress. "Come on, Jason. Come here, boy." Jason hopped onto the bed and curled up between Kincade's legs. The dog's warmth made him feel a little better, a little safer. He put the darts on the nightstand and leaned his head back on the pillow, closed his eyes, and he jerked awake again. But it was dark now, very dark, and Kincade reached for the light on the nightstand. His hand struck hard cold metal. It was all around him, below him, above him, and at each side, and his breathing quickened. His stomach sick with panic as he pounded at the surface above him. It rattled, clanged, and opened. He was in the trunk of a car. Cold night air wafted in as Kincade sat up in the trunk. Outside there was only the black night sky above and battered old cars all around, for as far as he could see. "Hey!" he said, feeling more and more afraid. "This ain't my dreamland!" He climbed out of the trunk and looked around. He was in an old wrecking yard. Cars were stacked like corpses outside of Auschwitz. Kincade sucked in a deep breath and cried, "Kristen! Kristen, if you're here, I'm gonna pound your ass!" There was no reply, only a familiar scratching. It was the sound of Jason's paws pattering through dirt. The dog was a few yards away, trotting toward Kincade. Jason stopped and stared at him. "Jason!" He was relieved to see a familiar sight, but as he neared the dog, Jason's lip pulled back over sharp teeth, and the dog growled softly. "Hey, it's me, Jason!" The dog turned away from him and began digging furiously in the dirt, paws pedaling so fast they were nearly a blur. Kincade drew nearer, but cautiously, no longer trusting his pet. The ground began to collapse beneath Jason's swiping paws, and Kincade was struck with a sudden feeling of dread. He rushed forward to stop the dog's digging, but Jason spun on him and snapped, growled, and Jason lifted his hind leg to piss. But instead of urine, a stream of fire shot from between the dog's legs, and the hole Jason had dug ignited. Jason bounded away from the fire, yelping, then stopped and turned back, body tensed, ready to run away. Kincade watched as the flames rose 6, 7, 10 feet into the air. The ground beneath him began to tremble and crack, and a red glow oozed from the opening, as if hell itself were being revealed. The flames died down as the ground separated, leaving a red glowing pit where there had once been a small hole. Kincade and Jason moved slowly toward the crevice and looked over the edge. A pile of human bones lay in the flickering glow. A foot or so away from them lay a hat. It was a very familiar hat. The bones quivered, moved. Then, with frightening speed, the bones slid together, joints thunking as they were rejoined, separated ribs clattering as they became whole, vertebrae snapping into a column, fingers clicking together, teeth rattling back into their sockets, and Jason barked fearfully, backing up several steps, then turned and ran away as tissue began to form on the bones. Muscles melted together, and veins and arteries appeared in trails over the glistening substance. Then skin, spreading like moisture over a window pane, covered the body completely, as eyes rose from within the skull to fill the empty sockets, and Freddy Krueger smiled up at Kincade from the pit and sneered.
"You shouldn't have buried me. I'm not dead!"
He reached for his hat and dusted it off. Kincade wasted no time. He turned and ran for the wall of rusty, battered cars, sidling between two of them, then climbing onto another, hiding behind an old crumpled Vega, where he could watch without being seen. Flames shot from the pit, and the earth rumbled again as it closed. When the flames died out, Freddy stood where they had once burned. He lifted his right hand, razor-sharp knives extended from each finger, and slid the blades together as he chuckled. They played a deadly note. He walked slowly toward the wall of cars behind which Kincade had hid. Kincade closed his eyes a moment and summoned the extraordinary strength that came to him only in dreams, then waited until Freddy was standing in just the right spot beneath him. Kincade hooked his hands beneath the frame of the Vega and heaved. The car tumbled through the air and landed flat on Freddy. After a moment, Kincade whooped with joy. "Take that, motherfucker!" His words echoed through the graveyard of automobiles. He jumped to the ground and grinned at the place where Freddy had stood, waiting for his dream to end. It did not. The headlights of every dead car around him came on, shining with an unnatural brightness. Horns wailed like the voices of dying children. Kincade spun around and around, thinking, it's over, how come I'm not awake yet?" Metal scraped piercingly behind him, and Kincade spun around to see Freddy emerging from between two cars, dragging his knives along the rusted body as he grinned and rasped, "One down! 2 to go!" Kincade tried to run, but Freddy was faster. The blades glittered in the light of the car's headlights. An instant before they plunged into Kincade's gut, Freddy pushed them upward as he flashed his rotting teeth. His breath smelled like decayed meat in Kincade's nostrils. Kincade felt blood rising in his throat, and it sprayed from his mouth as he gurgled, "Kiss my ass! I'll see you in hell!" Freddy tilted his head, perversely jovial, and said,
"Well, when you get there, tell him Freddy sent ya!"
His hellish laugh echoed in Kincade's ears as his eyes snapped open moments before his death. Jason was hunkered beside him, whining pitifully. Kincade clutched his stomach, expecting to find blood, but there was nothing. The dog licked Kincade's cheek as he tried to call Kristen's name. He died before he could. At least you guys don't complain about your food, Alice muttered as she sprinkled fish food into the small aquarium in her room. Capping the food again, she went to her vanity. Its large mirror was almost completely obscured by photographs taped to the glass, some overlapping others, some covered entirely. They were pictures of Sheila and Debbie, Kristen and Rick and herself, but her favorites were the pictures of Alice, Rick, and their mother together. There were a lot of those. She'd been so pretty before she got sick, before the cancer began chewing up her insides. Somewhere on the mirror were a couple of pictures of her dad, but she didn't look for them. They were probably covered up anyway. Sort of defeats the purpose, doesn't it? Rick asked, coming into the room. What? The mirror. You can't see yourself in it. That's the point. I don't want to. She went to her bed and sat on the edge. You know, if Mom were still alive, Dad wouldn't treat us like he does. Nah, come on. His mind is doing the freestyle in Cuervo Gold. He doesn't mean it. You know, sometimes I really want to be what he wants, and other times I just don't care. The problem is, when I look in the mirror, I'm never what I want to be. That's 'cause you can't see yourself, like I said. You know, if you took a good look, you might surprise yourself. You've just gotta chase a few dreams. Find out what you want to be, then go for it. She shook her head distractedly. It's all in your head. What? Your mind pictures you doing something and your body reacts. Like this. He stood straight, kicked a leg high into the air while jerking back his elbows and shouted, Fight! See? Like that. Come on, you try it. Me? I can't do that. Sure you can. He pulled her from the bed and stood her in the center of the room. Okay, like this. He repeated the kick. Now, go ahead. She gave it a half-hearted try and nearly fell over. Rick gave her a polite Japanese bow and said, Ah, Alice-san, you must have balance. Now, try again. With the next kick, her shoe flew across the room and plopped into the aquarium. Alice laughed and buried her face in Rick's chest. Well, you've got pretty good aim, he chuckled. He put his arms around her and gave her a squeeze. So you're not a martial arts expert. So what? You've just got to keep shopping around, and when you find what you want to be, give it your all, okay? That's easy for you to say. You've got a personality. So do you, he said, kissing her forehead. You're the only one who doesn't know it yet. Joey lay on his waterbed, idly sloshing the mattress with his foot. MTV was on, the volume low, but Joey ignored it in favor of the poster on the wall across the room. It was a picture of a beautiful blonde stretched out on a tiger skin rug. She wore a yellow bikini that concealed little, and she looked directly at Joey with promise and invitation. He breathed, locking his hands behind his head and allowing himself to relax. He even began to doze a little as he stared at the poster, wishing, imagining, dreaming. He thought of how she might feel and smell, how she might taste, and he had a nearly perfect image of her standing beside his bed when a jarring movement startled him from his fantasy and made him sit up. The waterbed was sloshing furiously, almost as if something were inside the mattress. Joey turned, clutched the bottom sheet, and pulled it away from the mattress. Looked through the transparent vinyl and gasped whenever he saw a figure swimming in the water beneath him, backed by a soft glow. It was a woman. A naked woman, and she looked like... No, Joey thought. Couldn't be, it couldn't be. He looked up at the poster. The girl was gone. All that was left on the tiger skin was the yellow bikini lying in a tiny heap. Inside the mattress, the girl moved gracefully, her blonde hair flowing around her head liquidly, her small, firm breast pressed flat to the vinyl, as her lips silently formed his name. Joey! Joey knew he was dreaming. The poster girl had come to him in his dreams before, but she'd never been inside his bed.
What a great bed.
Joey laughed, getting on his hands and knees, pressing a palm to one breast. He felt it beneath the vinyl, but for only a moment, and then the girl began to sink, fading into the soft glow that came from deep within the water.
Wait, come back,
he called, but only water slurped quietly inside the mattress. Joey sighed and started to put the sheet back up when he saw slight movement deep in the water again. Something was nearing the surface, swimming upward quickly, and a hand reached toward Joey. But it wasn't just any hand, and it wasn't her hand, because there were knives extending from the fingers, coming up faster and faster until they sliced cleanly through the vinyl, and Freddy rose out of the water with a great splash, wrapping his arm around Joey's neck smoothly and holding him close in a deadly embrace. Joey felt as if the bottom of his stomach had fallen out as he struggled helplessly. Defeat overwhelmed him, and he cried out in a childlike voice,
"How's this for a wet dream, Joey?"
Freddy sneered, his laughter filling the room as Joey continued to fight. And he screamed for help. He screamed for Kristen.
2 down! 1 to go!
Joey screamed once more in vain until the water filled his mouth as Freddy pulled Joey into the water, and they went down farther and farther until Joey's lungs burned for breath and his skull felt as if it were being crushed. And then there was nothing, not even dreams. When Joey's mom came into his room to say goodnight, she clicked her tongue when she saw the television was still playing that wretched MTV. She couldn't understand the attraction. "This garbage," she muttered, turning it off. She turned to his bed. The covers were in a heap. "Joey," she said quietly, "come on, give your old ma a kiss." She went to the bed and carefully pulled the covers back and saw that the bottom sheet was gone. So was Joey. She whipped the sheets back and her screams sounded through the entire house as she stared at her son's dead body inside the waterbed mattress. Chapter 4. On a bench in front of the school the next morning, Kristen's hand trembled as she lit a cigarette. Sleep had been scarce the night before, and she'd had too much coffee before coming to school. The night had been filled with voices, Kincade's and Joey's calling her name. She'd been looking for the boys since she'd arrived that morning, but hadn't found them, and her stomach was tangled in an anxious knot. When a hand touched her shoulder, Kristen jerked around to find Alice. "There you are," Alice said. "Where are you this morning? Rick's been looking all over for you." Kristen clutched Alice's arm. "Have you seen Kincade or Joey? I can't find them anywhere." "I haven't seen them." Alice sat beside her. "I called them, but no one answered, not even their parents." When Alice frowned with concern, Kristen tried to calm herself. "We have matching luggage," she chuckled. "Huh? The bags under your eyes, I've got 'em too, see? Nightmares?" Alice nodded. "God, I hate dreaming." "I love to dream," Alice said. "I just hate the ones about my dad." "You could do a lot worse, believe me." Kristen stamped out her cigarette. "How do you handle your dreams?" Alice brightened. "My mom taught me when I was little. Ever heard of the Dream Master?" "Sounds like a game show host." "No, really. It was like a teddy bear or something. The guardian of good dreams gave me confidence." "Do you know his phone number?" Alice laughed. "Sorry?" "There was a rhyme, I think, but I've forgotten it." "So, what do you do now?" "Now I just really try hard to dream of something fun. Remember, Kristen, you're in control. You're your own dream master." Kristen was silent a moment. "I used to bring people into my dreams." "You what?" "Whenever I had nightmares, I'd bring people in to help me." She could tell Alice was skeptical. "Never mind, it's kind of complicated." The bell rang through the campus, and Kristen stood, forced to smile. "Well, we better go before your brother starts a search party." Kincade and Joey had Mr. Bryson's English class with Kristen, and as she walked down the hall with Rick and Alice, she prayed they would be there. If they weren't, well, she didn't know what she would do. They were late, and the class was already full, and when they walked in, everyone turned to see who was tardy. Kristen scanned the room quickly and gasped when she saw that Kincade's and Joey's desks were empty. Kristen's heart froze. She stumbled backward and tried to find her voice. "Kincade! Joey! My God, he got them! Oh God! Oh God, he got them!" Rick grabbed her arm and hissed, "Kristen, what's the matter?" She faced him and sputtered, They're gone! He got them! My God, he got them! He killed them!" Alice stepped toward her, and Rick tried to pull Kristen toward him. She spun away and threw herself toward the open door, but tripped on Rick's foot, and she felt herself falling, saw the floor sweeping up to meet her, saw the door jam an instant before her skull cracked against it, and the light around her began to fade, and the voices of her classmates sounded more and more distant, until Kristen opened her eyes and looked up at the glaring fluorescent lights of the infirmary. The school nurse smiled down at her. The woman's face was square and homely, her dark hair in short curls. Her watery brown eyes peered through owlish glasses, and she wore too much perfume. "Are you feeling better now?" she asked. Yeah, I guess so. What happened?" "You had quite a nasty bump." The nurse's voice was soft and prissy. Kristen tried hard to focus her senses. When she remembered what had happened just before she bumped her head, she tried to sit up and blurted, "I gotta get out of here." The nurse pushed her down again. "You just stay put. You need your rest." No, Kristen hissed urgently. "You don't get it. He's after me." "Don't worry, honey. Everything's fine." The nurse smiled again, showing her small, ugly teeth, and turning away, hunching over a small chrome table. She fumbled for a moment with something Kristen couldn't see. Kristen tried to relax, but the light was so bright, and the room was so clean and neat and white. With a jolt, she felt that something was suddenly very wrong, and looked at the nurse suspiciously. The woman's white uniform was stretched tight over her back and began to spread with bright red stains. Kristen frowned, sat up, and watched as the stains grew larger, almost as if something were oozing through the material from underneath, something like blood. The nurse spun around quickly and held up an enormous syringe, and Kristen looked at her face to see that she was Freddy. He laughed deep in his chest and sneered,
Just lie back. I need to draw a little blood.
Kristen screamed as she rolled off the examination table, and her eyes snapped open as she lay on the examination table. The school nurse smiled down at her, peering through owlish glasses, and said, "Feeling better now?" Kristen took a deep breath and let relief wash through her. This was the real school nurse. She was homely too, but she wasn't Freddy. Okay, Slashaholics, this has been chapters 3 and 4 of A Nightmare on Elm Street for The Dream Master, the novelization by Joseph Locke. Really enjoying this book because Dream Master is one of my favorites. I want to apologize about the background noise you're hearing right now, but I had no AC on while I was recording Final Destination 3 Chapter 17 today, or these two chapters, so I couldn't wait no more. I'm going to do the commentary, but I'm going to have my AC on because it is hot. I live in the South, and it is hot this summer. But yeah, as far as the story goes so far, I am enjoying it, but the author doing this whole R.L. Stine goosebumps thing is really starting to get irritating. Because at least R.L. Stine would do it at the end of a chapter, and then when the next chapter starts, then the fake out happens. But like every page, there's lines like, okay, for instance, it'd be like if, okay, it's like Freddy looked around Alice looked around the corner. She heard something scratching on the wall, and when she looked, a garden rake was being held by the janitor, scratching the wall as he walked. Or, she fell asleep and found herself in the boiler room. Then, nothing happened. Freddy was not there. You know, it's just, Joey's mom looked on the bed, and Joey was not there. However, she pulled the sheet back, and she screamed. Like, I'm not kidding. Check out, I'm going to put a picture up on the screen right here during the commentary. A page from the book, and you'll see what I'm talking about. That is my biggest complaint so far. The only thing I don't like about the Dream Master movie, as well as the novelization, is how fast the Dream Warriors get killed off. Kincade and Joey, R.I.P. already. It just seems kind of cheap. Maybe Kristen's story will play out differently than the movie. Who knows? I'm kind of doubting it at this point. It seems to be pretty dead on with the movie. If I've missed any differences, though, so far, let me know in the comments section. Because, sometimes I might miss something. It's been a while since I've seen the movie. I do enjoy the relationship that Rick and Alice have. That brother-sister bond. Being that close together in age helps. I had a sister. We were only like a year and a half apart. So being close in age does help. They're going through a rough time. Their dad's an alcoholic. Taking out his sadness and depression of losing his wife on them. Which is no excuse at all. He's a piece of crap. But I have enjoyed the way the nightmares have been written. Mr. Locke does a good job with that. Did you guys notice the little change in the nurse's voice? Little subtle change before the reveal came that it was Freddy. I enjoyed that part. Always enjoyed that part of the movie. Freddy saying, "I need to draw a little blood." But yeah, Kincade's thing. I hope the bell didn't get you guys, didn't make anybody jump. I try to get the jump scares in there when I can sometimes. But yeah, there's not a whole lot to say at this point in the story. But I do want to hear from you guys. If you're enjoying this book so far, if you're a fan of the Dream Master film, let me know. I love discussing anything slasher and horror related with you guys. Love you all so much. And until next time, this has been your friendly neighborhood 80s slasher librarian saying, thanks for listening, be excellent to each other, and
pleasant dreams!
Tonight's upload is brought to you by our patrons on the Patreon page. That's Tony DeVore, Tyrone Kennard, Nick Velcarve, Jeffrey Quick, Daniel Mackey, David Arnold, Alex Vanover, Krista Campbell, Rob Davey, Jay Gardner, Willow Ravenwood, Lauren Vaught, Kristen Kay, Michael, William Schaefer, Liam Anderson, Bree, Bonanza Jellybean, Ryan Woodward, Allison Seib, Iron Alexa, Hawaii, Cecilia Spears, Sean Campbell, Catherine McClear, Simonoli, and Carl Eakins. Thank you all so much for supporting the channel on Patreon. I couldn't do this without you. The channel would not exist without you. So a million times thank you.